जयपुर वाया कोटा
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
लखनऊ जंक्शन
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
Well, Pat Cummins and company could not silence the Ahmedabad crowd for a change as Gujarat have comfortably won their second game at home. Gujarat win by 7 wickets. We are back at Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher and I have Michael and Lisa with me. Well, they'll be very happy with the way they went about things, calm, composed, and they just got this done pretty clinically. We see Sai Sudarshan getting 45 of 36, David Miller reaching 44, and Shubman Gill got that 36. Gujarat will be a happy team, and Ashish Nehra will give Gill a pat on his back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good win because I think, before the game started, we were kind of bigging up the Sunrisers and kind of talking a little bit down the Gujarat Titans, but they were still 1 from 1, exactly the same as the Sunrisers. Now they're 2 from 3. They've had a good start to the IPL. That's a solid chase because they played smart. There was a time where they just had to knock it around. They did so. And David Miller, again, we mentioned him before the start of the show that he hasn't quite been in the form that we've seen in previous seasons so far. Well, he got the job done. That's exactly what he's there to do. When you're chasing down a target, you send out your experienced pro and he just helps a younger player out and then he hits a few sixes and it's game over. A really smart, clever victory for the Gujarat Titans.
Michael, you were talking about it in the mid-match show and you said that sometimes it's good because the bowlers will learn from what Gujarat did in the first innings, but clearly the batters learned and went about things very smartly, like Michael's saying.
Yeah, I mean, they still got off to a fairly good start with Saha and Gill, and they needed their middle order just to kind of make sure, and we spoke at the com-box moment halfway through, that these two actually needed to break the chase, really. They couldn't leave it up to anyone else. And they did a fairly good job. I mean, the fact that Sai Sudarshan got out just before the chase was done. But they'd be really happy that David Miller has found some form. And they accelerated nicely. It just shows you that when you have players set, they are quite happy. Even though the pitch was a little bit slow and it was taking turns, if you're set and you've spent a bit of time out there, you can absolutely exploit the bowlers. And I think that 16th over, 24 runs off it, that kind of really showed that Gujarat were going to come away with this victory today.
Well, Lisa, talking about victory, you have to do a very important thing, which I wanted to start off with.
That's what she did. She mentioned the first 6 overs straight away, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She did. I thought I'll give it some time, but everyone, a huge round of applause for Lisa for getting the prediction game right. Well done, Lisa.
They'll still have you as no on the list.
Yeah, it's okay. I know.
Something to do with being Australian, I think.
I know, it's okay.
No, it's also,
they've got to win something, right?
Yeah, true. Is that what's happening on this show?
Sorry?
That's happening?
Yeah, the Aussies always win titles, so they're just...
There's going to be an Indian that wins something, isn't it? It's going to be the prediction game.
No, it's just too much pressure on the auditors.
Is the trophy going to be bigger than the World Cup? I don't know.
It's a very, very important trophy we are playing for, but I also heard that GK is taking UPI payments and he's doing this exchange with the producers going on, asking his fans to pay him. But Lisa, we are standing strong behind you and we are very proud of what you've done. We will leave a victory speech for you a little later because we should get back to what Gujarat did correctly today. We'll have a look at the batting card and see how, things just went according to plan because Ridhiman Saha got that 25 of 13. He was looking good. Shubman was looking good. Will be disappointed because he would have liked to see the team across the finish line. But then we just see good partnerships there, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's 5 players that got in. Exactly the same as the Sunrisers. Clearly, it was a decent deck because everyone was getting in. I thought Shubman was set. And you could see he was disappointed to get out on 36, caught on the boundary. I like the way Sahar played at the top. He just got them off to that flying start. He played with a fearless approach, which is exactly what you need in the power play. You look at that, it's a solid chase. There was a little moment where they started to get a little bit behind it, and then all of a sudden a couple of boundaries and they're ahead of the trend. And Pat Cummins, you could see, was kind of scratching his head of who to bowl, what to bowl. Does he bowl the cutters? Does he go back to the spinners? I look at the Sunrise and they're lacking. We mentioned Noor and we mentioned Rashid Khan, two outstanding spinners spinning it either way. I think the Sunrisers are going to come unstuck because they don't really have the world-class spinners.
Lisa, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to ask you as well, do you think Pat Cummins leaving himself to the 11th over, maybe he could have injected himself a little bit earlier in the game?
I think he's seen himself in that role, isn't he? That kind of mid-innings role. He's not bowling too many in the power play and he's not bowled too many down the back end. He's kind of trying to be that enforcer in the middle period to get wickets. I kind of get what he's trying to do, but when you're only defending a relatively modest total, he's such a world-class performer, you'd think that he might have just risked at least one over in the first 6.
But, they used Bhuvi up front. They used 3 overs and he was pretty economical. I remember in the combox you were chatting about how this might be a trick up Pat Cummins' sleeve. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way he wanted it to because it's also about taking wickets at the correct time, which didn't happen for Hyderabad.
No, and you look at the economy rate of Bhuvaneshwar, he kind of stands out amongst the rest, and they've got to find the right place for him. And he's getting older. He's probably losing a little bit of pace. He's not losing any of his skill, but maybe the pace factor is something. But I thought maybe not even the power play, Pat Cummins, but just outside as well. Like we had to wait till
he's almost bowling the overs that you'd want your mystery spinners to bowl. And that mid-range, and you bring on your spinners to spin it either way, but the Sunrisers don't have that.
You mentioned in the pre-match show as well that the spinners are a little bit of a weakness for the Sunrisers.
Yeah, I do. I look at all the teams that I believe are going to be competitive. They've got quality spin. At the start of the IPL, the pitches always seem to be at the best, and you can get away with sometimes not having your world-class spinners because seamers come into the fore, but down the back end it's always where the pitches start to wear and spins start to play more of a part, and you need class in your spin department. I just don't think they've got enough class. Hasaranga obviously is a key component, and he's ruled out the whole IPL, so that's a big blow. There is their mystery spinner that's been wiped out, so I think they may struggle on the back of that.
Maybe they'll bring someone in now for Hasaranga, that mystery spin, but all of them have taken some of the best going around.
They had Adil Rashid last year, and he's obviously not back this year. Maybe he will be asked to replace him.
It's just the huge shoes of Rashid Khan to fill is just such a big name to fill shoes of, because they had, like you said, Rashid, they have got Mayank Markande, they had Washi, but it's just not enough. Like a world-class spinner like him is just not, you can't match up to that kind of caliber.
It reminds me of when the Australian team tried to move on from the late great Shane Warne. I think we had 9 spinners within our test side until we landed to Nathan Lyon, who's pretty good in the end, but it took 9 because you actually can't replace someone like a Rashid Khan or a Shane Warne. You cannot find that person because they don't exist. They're the one-offs. So they're going to have to figure out what's the next best for them.
You look at the Sunrisers, the way that they're going to, if you say how they're going to win the IPL, which is what the ambition of all the teams are at this stage in particular, it's got to be the batting. They're going to have to, not say get 277 every game, but you'd think with that bowling attack, they probably have to get at least 10% over par on most occasions.
Like you said, the bowlers win you the tournaments. So that is going to be a little bit of a concern because there's too much on Pat Cummins' shoulders. And of course, there is Bhuvi who's up in the front. We spoke about how they're leaking runs towards the death. So the spinners will come into play, and that unfortunately for the Sunrisers isn't looking very positive just yet.
Yeah, just yet. There's still a long way to go.
Early days.
That a lot.
It's early days, but
but at the moment,
you're looking at weaknesses, aren't you? You're trying to find what do they need to be, and how could they have won that game today? I think with that bowling attack on that pitch, very, very difficult to restrict when you've not got a little bit of mystery spin.
But talking about Gujarat again, because this was a pretty clinical win from their end. Ashish Nehra with all the notes and chits that he keeps passing in will be happy because everything was executed according to plan. We also spoke a lot about how just no Shami, no Hardik, but 2 out of 3 games, so they've looked impressive.
Yeah, it's a really good start. You'd want 3 out of 3, but to win that first game against Mumbai, then they had poor chase against Chennai. That can happen, but tonight I thought that was a real professional performance. They said they were going to chase as well, so they actually ended up doing exactly what they wanted in the field. I thought Shubman Gill was excellent. Manoeuvred his bowling attack clever. It's nice when you've got two world-class mystery spinners, but I thought he used his tools nicely, and with the bat in hand, I never felt they panicked. I never felt they were, even when they were just starting to just get behind it, I didn't see panic. I never saw a shot that was in desperation. They just kept on playing good cricket strokes, and I think all these teams know that if you've got players that are in, they can all hit the boundaries, can clear the ropes, and they chase down that number in a very smart fashion.
It tells me that this side actually has a wonderful culture. Like when you take out two key components of their team that has taken them to the finals, one title, one runners up. You take them out of the equation and, they're still performing, actually. Surprisingly, we all thought the performances may drop off. So it tells you a lot about the culture that they've created. And then we mentioned as well, Kane Williamson sitting on the sidelines. It's almost like he's an extra hand for the support staff. And no doubt, I hope that Shubman Gill is using him as a real asset from a leadership point of view, and no doubt Kane is the type of guy to offer up. So they're creating a wonderful group despite some players missing, and they're still being able to perform. So watch out, actually. I think Gujarat may be the sleeping giant, maybe.
Yeah, you always say in team sport, give me a cultural team that knows exactly how to manage people, and they know exactly how to identify roles within the setup that they have and the group that they have over any team that has the odd individual great player. And that's all it is, the odd individual great player, and around that there's a bit of chaos. I think they've got Vikram Solanki's an ex-England player, is a fantastic operator, and obviously you've got Pep Guardiola, Ashish Nehru, who's just all over the place. I'd love to know what his step count was again today, because he was running around, handing out directions, but it's working. It's now worked for the first 2 years, and we're into the third year, and they've got off to a really good start this year with a controlled display, particularly today's performance. That was a class performance.
Like Michael said, it was very cool and composed chase by Gujarat. I think we had a lot of cool moments today. Let's have a look at the carrier room air conditioner coolest moment of the match. I'm sure a lot of you all have written in with what your suggestions are. Before I go to Michael and Lisa, let's have a look at what you all have to say. There's so many tweets that come in, but these are the shortlisted ones. So, Rashid Khan's timely dismissal of Henrik Klaasen. Carrier coolest moment of the match. Next one. Aryan Borkar says, seeing Travers Head walk back to the pavilion in Ahmedabad. A carrier coolest moment. Well, Michael's smiling. You can't see that, Aryan. The next one is every Indian uncapped player welcoming Rashid Khan with a 6 is my coolest moment of the match. The confidence and no fear attitude is unbelievable. I'm sorry, but I have to go with you, Aryan. For what I've been facing in the pre-match and the mid-match show, I have to go with you.
Cry me a river.
Yes.
Cry me a river.
But Michael, your turn.
I'm going to go Rashid Khan getting out Henrik Klaasen. That was, exactly what was required. The captain throws in the ball, said, please just get him out. He just hit 2 sixes into the stands, and like Rashid Khan generally always does, in a cool fashion, he got the job done.
Lisa, for you?
For me, Mohit Sharma.
Oh, he was really cool. And
3 wickets, but also 2 wickets, was on a hat-trick, backing up his performance from last year. He's tracking along nicely.
And it's just such a cool story, because Mohit Sharma was somebody no one really looked at. They thought he's almost retired, and then to come back from where he was and then have that season last year and continue his form right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll add in the cool captain. I thought Shubman Gill, he always looks cool. He's a cool player, cool captain. I was going to give it to Ashish Nehru, but he's not cool. he's carnage, he's chaos. So he's got chaos, cool. No, doesn't quite go together. But Shubman Gill and Mohit Sharma was tremendous as well with those slower balls, and just a good. You could say the whole 11. I thought it was a team collective performance, which is what you require.
But Lisa, did you think Shubman's glasses were cool? Because you were chatting about his glasses. Maybe that's one thing you want to change, or you want Shubman to change.
I don't know. I remember 2005, there was a period that the Aussie men, more so, I mean, you guys weren't that far behind. It was almost like the ugliest sunglasses competition. And we're starting to go back to that era.
Oh, Shubman's one with the white kind of...
The white frame.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
the
take
little
that back what I
flies.
said about him being cool. Those glasses are horrendous.
Says us cool cats right here, right?
All right, guys. These were our Carrier room air conditioner coolest moment of the match. It's always nice when you all write in and give your suggestions. Aryan, I've got you. I've understood what it is. Once again, I'd like to call out to Aryan's tweet and say for me that was the coolest moment of the match. We'll have a look at the points table now because there are a lot of things that go up and down in the points table. Gujarat and Hyderabad are sitting at 4 and 5. But I would like to now move our attention to who's sitting at number 1 and who's sitting at number 9 because that's what is up. Chennai takes on Delhi in Delhi's second home. And that's next up. Again for Delhi, Lisa, Michael, not the start that they would have wanted. You know, how important is it to get off the blocks quickly? Like we keep talking about, yes, it's just the beginning of the tournament, but you just don't understand how quick the IPL moves on. You've had like a bad game, the net run rate's down, and then suddenly into the mid of the IPL, you realize like, oh, this is not looking very good. So how important is it for Delhi to kind of pull their socks up?
Hugely important because you just get a sense in the camp. The owners may start to kind of come in and have conversations about your playing 11. You think you've selected or you've gone out with your best 11 and they're not working. So then it's like, well, where do you go to next? And, you know, it just destabilises the group. So if they were to get a victory, it just, everyone calms down. Yet we're on the right path again. But another victory, it's not the ideal situation you want to be in.
Oh, I think it's a must-win game for Delhi. I mean, I don't see Delhi like Mumbai. Mumbai generally always starts slow because it's part of the showbiz of what that team's all about, and then they come good at the end and reach the playoffs and end up winning a trophy or two. Delhi aren't that team. You know, I think on the back of obviously Rishabh coming back is a massive positive, but it's going to take him a little bit of time to really get into his flow. You know, they generally with Ricky go with quite a lot of overseas batters at the top. You know, I think somewhere they need to try and get more Indian players performing well. Do they bring in Cricbuzz? You know, he's a quality, talented player that's been a bit up and down, but I think Delhi have to win today. And they're up against a team that, if you were saying a team that you have to go and beat, you'd probably choose CSK the last.
Yeah, it's the toughest team to beat.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh no, we've got to go and beat CSK.
But thankfully they're not playing at home. They're playing in their home ground, not playing at the Chepauk. That's a positive for Delhi.
Well, the problem is that Vishakhapatnam, the last time they've played there, they've played 5 games. They've lost 3 games, Delhi. So it's not necessarily a happy homecoming.
Yes.
Though each year is different. It depends the pitch. We know it's closer to the sea. Will the sea breeze come in and assist and help? Oh, I don't know. I'm just trying to romanticise the whole thing for them. But Delhi, and I think we had a graphic as well that's waiting to come. Come on, producer. Where when they lose 2 games, Delhi, where they finish in IPL, and it's not pretty viewing for the capital fans. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about. So every time they've lost 2 games, ouch, it's been 10th, 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th. That's not something Delhi fans would like to see. Maybe that's why they're not showing.
That's not a good sign of historically not showing resilience from losing the first 2 games. I mean, 2 games at the start of a tournament, you've still got so many to come. So that tells me that there is a little bit of we talk about the Gujarat Titans, that culture that they've got in the dressing room. They clearly have got that culture of togetherness and that spirit. That comes from playing well over the previous 2 years. Delhi don't have that historical kind of memory bank to draw back on. Mumbai have it. Even though there's not that many players in the Mumbai camp at the minute from 10 years ago, but they've still got that spirit within the camp. Ricky Ponting's got a job on. He really has, to try and get this team believing, because you look at the team and they've got time. And Kuldeep Yadav is a wonderful bowler. You know, I really think he's becoming an incredible spin bowler with the pacey bowls now, the drifts that he gets through the air. You've got Rishabh Pant, you've got David Warner, you've got quality players within that team. So it's not like they haven't got the talent. It's just sometimes in T20. I think T20 cricket, bizarrely, is, because it's the shortest, it's sometimes the hardest format to get back winning, because things happen so quickly. I guess because it's 20 overs, teams are always a little bit closer than maybe a 50 over game where you can just get ahead quite quickly. Test match cricket's the same. You have a good first day, you kind of dominate the test match, whereas T20 cricket, I think it's the hardest format to get back on a winning.
Ebbs and flows.
Ricky he'll be crossing his fingers just hoping for a Rishabh special or Mitchell Marsh special or Warner special, Kuldeep to bowl an incredible spell, but collectively, I have to say they look a bit disjointed.
Well, they're off to a winning start because Delhi have won the toss, and the big news is, which we were discussing even in the green room, Prithvi Shaw is in. They're going to be batting first. So the big call of getting Prithvi Shaw in, Ishant Sharma is in, and Kuldeep is out because he has a niggle. So that's a big blow again to Delhi. Wow. They have a lot riding on Kuldeep's back. But Lisa, we were talking about this in the green room. Ponting spoke about how Prithvi was looking good in the nets, and it depended on how he was in the nets. They would have gone ahead with the selection. So clearly the coach is happy with how Prithvi's looked.
Yeah, see, this is the whole thing. We can, as pundits and fans, we can scrutinise and know why isn't he in, why is he out, all of those type of things. But those guys know. I get a sense that Ricky Ponting at the start of the tournament would have gone, nah, not ready. And that might have just lit the fire under Prithvi Shaw to go, I actually have to prove myself. I can't just come back in, walk back into this side and expect to perform well, because I think he hasn't scored a half century in IPL in like 14 innings. So, they want him to work for it, earn it. You don't give out caps just for the fun of it. That's not how Ricky thinks. That's the Australian mentality. And maybe he's worked his backside off to find himself in the 11 now. Now he has to take his opportunity, because I feel if he doesn't, he could be very quickly out again.
But Michael, he's just such a talented player, and there's been so much discussion around him, his fitness. So he will have a point to prove today. Yeah,
I mean, will that motivate him, or will it send a bit of fear into him? Sometimes there's kind of mentalities and players that once they've got a point I'll look at someone like Stuart Broad. Historically, when he's had a point to prove, you just know he's going to bowl better. I'd look at someone like Prithvi Shaw. Is he the kind of player, an individual? I don't know him well enough to understand whether he'd be that kind of individual to go, right, I'm going to go out there with a real point to prove it and play in a way that maybe is not naturally to him. What you want him to do is go out and have a go. He's got to be sent out there and go and cause some chaos. When he's played his best innings, and he is a very talented player, and if he comes off, he can strike a ball as good as any. And that's what Ricky Ponting would be hoping, that maybe leaving him on the sidelines for a couple of games has stoked the bear. And he suddenly goes, right, okay, Ricky, even though you're a legend again, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove that I should have been in that first game of the season. I hope he's one of those players that when he plays well, he's a beautiful player to watch, because he's just got that natural wrist and it flies into the stands and he can go over the offside. You would think that Chennai will try and get a bit of pace at him. I think that's been one of the areas that you can target him, a few bounces, and with the new rule of 2 bounces per over, that should help Chennai in terms of their management bowling to him. But I hope he comes off. I think he's one of those players that came on the scene years and years ago, and he kind of lit everywhere up. He scored all those runs in the domestic leagues, and then he started nicely, obviously, in the IPL. He's had a little bit of experience at the highest level. He's a class act when he goes, but I just worry about his mentality. I just wonder where his mind is at the minute in his game.
Well, Saurav Ganguly he gave us a reason why he was not in the first 2 games. We'll have a look at what he had to say. He said Prithvi Shaw is an opener. We decided to open with Marsh and Warner. And Ricky in the middle order is a middle order batter. So they bat at different positions. So it's actually not Ricky for Shaw. It's a different opening combination. They opened for Australia and they have done well together. So we decided to do that. So we should be seeing Marsh at 1 down today, because kind of to just get that balance in, we see him at 1 down.
Yeah, you've got to if you're going to bring Prithvi in, you've got to put him where he's most comfortable. Whereas Mitch Marsh has floated before in the Australian team, in the Scorchers side, in the Big Bash. So,
Well, it's the 31st of March, and we've used this on Cricbuzz many times, that paying taxes and Chennai's 11, these are things that don't change, but let's still have a look at Chennai's playing 11 and see if they've gone ahead with any changes. No surprises there. Michael, Lisa, this is just a copy-paste kind of conversation we have. I think every time Chennai plays, we decided the last time we'll just use those clips and play those on loop because it's the same team that plays. They don't change things around. They are calm, they're composed, they have a strategy and they know how to go about things. So again, no surprises with no changes.
So the graphics team, they get paid less because they just...
Well, they don't come in.
They don't come in for Chennai's game.
Well, they come in for the first game of the season.
Just the first game for Chennai.
They have 8 weeks off. I think the one thing that Chennai do better than probably most franchises around the world, they realise that T20 cricket, yes, you've got to have that firecracker of a batting lineup, and you have to have players to play the shot, but they keep it simple. Yeah. They do the basics better than any other team. They hit the top of off stump with the new ball. They try and swing it, pitch it up. Usually have a slip or two in place. With the batting hand, they have certain. Shivan Dewey in the middle is there to attack the spinners. They send him in. He just causes chaos against spin. You can see that they've got very simplistic roles right down the order and with the ball in the hand. And it doesn't surprise me at all when you've got Stephen Fleming, you've got Michael Hussey in that backroom team, you've got MS Dhoni, obviously, who's been there forever. He's not the captain this year, but you can see that they're seeing T20 cricket. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll keep it dead simple. And we'll let the other teams overcomplicate and try and outthink what we're trying to do, which is the simple approach. And they do it better than any other team.
But I remember the first game, for discussion's sake, Tushar Deshpande was a little expensive. So in the next game, we had to have discussions around, do you think he should change? And we had these whole discussions, but nah, it's just the way Chennai does things. They like to back their players. They like to go ahead and do follow the same plans. And now with Pathirana back, it just falls in so correctly with Fizz up in the front and the middle overs, Pathirana coming in towards the end. It just all fits in perfectly for Chennai.
Yeah, things were slightly awry, weren't they, from a bowling point of view without Pathirana. Mm-hmm. Now he comes back, and we're seeing that he almost sometimes comes in after 10 overs in the second innings. They can sub him in and he just bowls those back-end overs. And they look such a potent side because he can affect the most difficult overs with those slower balls and Yorkers. The strike rate of 7.5 deliveries, he's picking up a wicket, which is just outstanding, and that is why he has been so successful. And his stocks have risen is because he's come into this Chennai side. The other thing they do really well is they give you a clear role. And they don't change it because they don't change the team. Mm. So you actually go in knowing exactly why you've been selected and what you need to do.
Well, it's not a surprise that players get better at delivering that role when they do it consistently.
Yeah.
Correct.
So when it's not changed and you're doing it over the course of 6 to 8 games to start with, and then it goes to 12 games and 14 games, you get so used to playing that role. And I think, again, I can understand why other teams chase kind of changing their teams because they're desperate to get the success or they're trying to get the win. But I just look at Chennai and think, why hasn't more franchise teams tried to copy what they do in terms of consistency? Give a set of players just a longer run of games together, just to get used to playing together, getting used to the strategies, the roles, because Chennai, they're, with Mumbai, the best teams in the IPL. Because of that, they've been consistent in selection.
Shane Watson was a prime example. He scored nothing, right?
And they kept him on for so long.
And kept him on. And did he score 100 in the final?
He got him over the line.
Yeah. So just shows you, right? Everyone else would have gone, this guy's out after 3, 4 failures. Yep. No, let's go right till the end. And he comes good.
I want to ask you all purely as captains, because we've got 2 captains in the house. We spoke about Pathirana, the consistency he has towards the end, and you said it's because the role's defined so well, he knows exactly what he needs to do. But as captains grooming someone as young as him, do you think it maybe sometimes kind of restricts him as a bowler? Like if as a bowler you'd want to be able to bowl pretty much everywhere. So do you think that kind of restricts his growth, or just winning games is what matters?
They want to win the title. Yeah. Chennai aren't necessarily worried about anything else. From a Sri Lankan point of view, they'd want him to develop in different phases, and obviously with the different format. But purely for Chennai, it's T20 cricket.
So just stick to what they're doing.
Well, I think for Pathirana, for him to have a huge amount of success and earn a huge amount of money, his role now is going to do that, because bowling at the back end, if you can tell me how many bowlers can we think of who were brilliant down the back end of the innings? Bumrah, start when he's at his best.
Malinga, the great.
There's not many. There's not many bowlers that you can. There's no guarantees down the back end because the ball can fly to all parts, and these players can flick it and hit it again to all parts. But if you've got a bowler that you pretty much know that he can be thrown the ball under pressure in the 18th and the 20th over, and you pretty much know he's going to bowl there or thereabouts. And if someone plays well on the day, they play well on the day. But you know you've got that bowler that can deliver a skill under pressure at the back end. He's worth a few quid.
But do you think, again, with Pathirana and the action he has, like I've spoken about Bumrah also, the Sri Lankan perspective is kind of the workload management is very important because he's probably injury prone?
Oh, you look at his action and I go, I don't even know how he gets into those positions. And his back leg and how he kind of rotates it when he hits the deck. Yeah, and remember, you've got to remember there's 10 times your body weight going through as you're kind of hitting the crease. So I know he's quite a small, light guy, but you can see some injuries maybe post-career, maybe even now. But touch wood, he's actually gone okay for now.
Because Dhoni had spoken about this and said that he's someone who needs to be used very carefully. It's just purely because of his action, and you don't want to change his action around because he's doing so well, but he needs to be used a little carefully.
Well, again, I think T20 cricket helps these bowlers because he's only bowling 4.
Yeah.
He's not bowling 10 overs and then another 10 overs 2 or 3 days later, or in Test cricket, 15 overs one day, another 3 or 4 the day after, and then a day off and then another 20 overs. 2020 cricket is almost devised for a dodgy action.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you're not having to bowl too much. You don't bowl too much in between games. The unorthodoxy helps because as a batter you want a pure action to see the ball out of the hand. If you've got something that you're going, where's the ball coming from? It's absolutely perfect for T20 cricket. So he's playing in the right era. He's getting looked after, he's earning a load of money, and he's very good at bowling down the back end.
So don't change.
Nah.
Don't develop him. Just let him do what he's doing.
Keep going.
Well, as someone I'd like to see, again, the matchup is a word that is not allowed on this show, but I'd like to see...
You keep saying all of these words that you're not allowed to.
Yeah, but matchup is not really a banned word. It's still in that grey space. So I think it's still allowed. It's not that really banned word, so I'll use it. I think Simon doesn't like it too much, so I can say it with you all. But just Pathirana and Mitch Marsh is someone I'd like to see because, Mitch Marsh has been in the greatest form of his life, but he's not been able to really convert it in the IPL so far. So, he would want to kind of convert his purple patch and have a good IPL.
He started well. In the first 2 games, he's looked like a bull out of a gate and hitting the ball nicely. He just wants to keep going hard, and that's probably what's undone him. We may, if he has a great day, we will see those two battle it out at the end, but he's got to kind of stay in a little bit longer.
I mean, Mitchell Marsh is a brilliant player, and he's had an incredible 2 years across all the formats. I still think in the IPL we're waiting for that one moment.
Yeah.
We're waiting for that 100 off 60. And he's certainly good enough to be able to do that, but I'm just waiting for that moment. He goes so hard that he takes so many risks that you think, could he just go back in the gear by just going... He starts in 6th gear. He's got a fast car. Could he just start in 4th gear and just carry on in 4th gear and go to 6th gear in the last 4 or 5 overs? Because he's certainly got the game to get hundreds in the IPL. We've seen it, obviously, for Australia. We've seen it around the Big Bash for many, many years. But here in India, we're still waiting for that one moment of, wow, what an innings, the big innings, the big 100. I'm certainly sure he can do it in this year's IPL.
Maybe coming down the order, and if Delhi were able to get off to an absolute flyer with Warner and Prithvi, he comes in and he feeds them the strike potentially, and then he goes. Whereas I think when he opens, he wants to be that aggressor. He wants to stamp his authority on the match.
Maybe it's also the role given to him when he's playing with Warner, because Warner's been going at a 135 strike rate, so maybe he wants to be the one going quicker. So will we see a change today with him coming one down?
Maybe, but no, Mitch Marsh, I think we know the way he's going to play. He's going to...
Wait, Test cricket, he comes in at 6 and he goes hell for leather?
Throttle. Yeah. But I just think we're waiting for that moment of, wow, what an innings.
But actually, this is something that Mitch Marsh spoke about. He said that, he had gotten into a shell, and he said what really changed him and what got him into this purple patch is removing the fear from his mind. Because as a cricketer, he used to kind of fear when he went into play. But ever since he said that, I just have no fears, he said, I've started playing much better. So clearly, he's not really giving a thought from the first ball, he wants to go for it.
I think he for those that haven't seen the Alan Border medal speech,
Yes.
you have
his
to.
beer.
Well, beer, but also everyone focuses on that he's a little bit fat and he likes his beer. And thanks to Pat and Andrew McDonald for creating a safe space. But he actually thanked them for allowing him to be him. So he's actually in an environment, in that Australian environment, where he is the most comfortable he has ever been. And then you just look at his performances on the field. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
He got very emotional about it because it's almost like they've given him another lease. He used to be hated by the Australian public. Now he's absolutely revered.
I never understood that. I never understood how the Aussies, because he's, if you were going to draw an Aussie, it's Mitchell Marsh. It's exactly what you draw, a good cricketer, a great cricketer, likes a pot. And he's quite chirpy as well. That's exactly what an Australian is. But we've spoken about Henrik Klassen and the way that he's striking a ball. It's like, oh wow, he got that.
Yes.
He's against KKR, and obviously helped his team to get to 277 with sixes all over the place. Mitchell Marsh can do that. He can certainly do that, and I reckon it could be today. But I just want to see it in the IPL. I haven't seen it yet in the IPL. He's certainly got the talent to do so.
Okay, so if it's going to be today, Michael, and if you think today is the day, then what is your prediction going to be at the first innings point?
I'm going to go 185.
Oh.
Were you going there?
I was going to go 184. And I won't go. I'll go just a little bit under, 175.
Ooh, okay.
So you're in that
I'm giving
really
you the
low or
190s
really
if you
high,
want.
aren't you?
I'm going to go with 193. Again,
Yeah.
just to see. And just to follow what Mitch Marsh said, not to have any fear. So I'm going to be fearless and go with 193. We have a reigning champion in Lisa Sthalekar. She won the last prediction game, and we hope she goes up that prediction meter, because they've been just not been fair to Lisa. The producers are not being kind to her, so we want her to go up the prediction meter. We'll wait and watch and see if she wins this prediction game. Don't forget to join us at the 10 over point at the Cricbuzz Combox. That's all for now. We'll see you soon.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad 50 Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें